Hello and welcome to SWAT Board Games' first instructional video on how to create your own custom 3D printed game token upgrades. For this, you're going to need a couple of things. First of all, you're going to need the program named Inkscape, and the link will be there. It's free. Second thing you're going to need is Tinkercad. Again, another free program. It's a website. You can log in and have access to your files anywhere. And the third thing you're going to need is the actual graphics that you're going to be using. Most board games have their rule books scanned and uploaded onto Board Game Geek. If not, you can always take a picture. You can use it as a reference, or even come up with your own creative ideas. So once you've installed Inkscape and you have an account on Tinkercad, this is what you're going to need to do. So we're going to go on to the screen and follow along if you'd like. So here we are. This is what your screen should sort of look like when you open up Inkscape. So what you're going to do is you're going to locate your file for the rulebook, and you can use either Adobe Acrobat Reader, or if you're on a Mac, you can use Preview. In this case, I'll use Preview, and it shows you high resolution, the rulebook for the game. So here we see the tokens that we're going to be creating because they're only available in the deluxe version, and I only got the retail version of the game, which has these tokens here. But I do want to have nice chunky 3D tokens, but instead of being wood, they're going to be plastic. So let me see here. We're going to look for a good image of the tokens up close, and I see them here, but these are just the plain images. So let's look at, oh, I found them right here. Beautiful. The resources. So what I want to do is take a screenshot of that section only. I don't need the card icon, so I'm going to take a screenshot. Let me see if I could still do it while recording. And I think so. So there we go. We're going to highlight that portion there. And a little tip, if you don't want it to save, just drag it right into Inkscape. That way you don't save a file. It's just a temporary capture of the screen. So now comes the fun part. I'm going to zoom in on what I just imported. And you can see here that we have 6 different icons that I'm going to be turning into 3D printable things. So we're going to start with the first one here. All of the, I guess, steps are applicable to all of them, just not to go through every single one. I'm just going to go and do one of them. So we're going to do the diamond or the gem right here. So once you've zoomed in enough, I like to zoom in about this much, not too much more. The tool you're going to want to select is your Bezier or Bezier, I don't even know how to pronounce that, curves and straight lines. You can see there that the shortcut is B. So if you press that, you've got this tool here. And what you're going to want to do is draw on each of the corners. So you're going to click once and then drag it. Now, if you hold Control, it locks the line at a specific angle. So in this case, I'm getting a perfectly straight line. So I'm going to click there again. And if I try to bring it down here, you see how it doesn't quite line up? So unfortunately, we can't hold Control, so just let go. And now you've got access to it, whatever angle you need. Now, you see here that there's a rounded corner. I don't like to make things sharp if I can get away with it. So what I do here is I'll click just before the curve. I'll hold Control, bring it down so that I pass the curve, and then I click again, and now I've got that corner that I'll deal with in a second. So if I hold Control and I try to follow this path, you can see it's not at the right angle. So I'll just let go of Control, and now I've got to be able to trace the outer edge. And the same idea goes here. So I'm going to click just before the curve, hold Control, bring the mouse over to the side, and then click again. Now that guarantees that the curve that's going to appear there is nice and even. So we're going to bring this over here again up to about there, and I'm going to click, hold Control, bring it up past the curve, and then go back to your starting spot and you'll see the square highlights. So once you click there, it creates the shape. Now, if you look down here, if you're not familiar with Inkscape, it shows you the color for the fill of the shape and then the color for the stroke. So in this case, it's black. You're not going to see it on top of the black art. So what I want to do is I'm going to hold shift and select a color that's a lot lighter. So maybe this aqua here. And there you go. You can see that the outline is there now. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Full screen on the one item that I have selected, and then just zoom out a little bit more. Okay, so that's the base shape, but I do want to add those round edges. So in order to do that, I need to edit the nodes, and that is the second icon here on the left, or you can press the N key. And now you see that all of the spots where I clicked have a little node that I can select. So you want to click about halfway onto the line segment, and you're going to pull it out slightly. So let me zoom in a bit and I'll show you what I mean. So I clicked there and I pulled it out just a bit, and now you can see that only that part of the line is rounded. So I'll do the same thing for the part down here. I'm just going to scroll a little bit. And now if I grab the line somewhere close to the middle, and I'm going to just drag that down. Because we're doing Bezier curves, or what is it called exactly again? Bezier curves and straight lines. It automatically tries to make it as smooth and curved as possible. So if I wanted to do that here, let's say as an example, I can do that, and you'll see that it automatically smooths the whole line. But let's undo that real quick. Okay, so we have one more little line segment to smooth out. So we're going to click about in the middle and drag that out to about there. Now let me zoom out again, and if I unselect everything, you can see that it's pretty good. It's pretty accurate to what the original icon was. The best way to test that, though, is to press the H or the V key, and what that does is it either flips it horizontally or vertically. So if this is perfectly centered, nothing should really change if I press H. Okay, so you can see at the bottom the line isn't super lined up. One of the edges is slightly in a little bit. So several ways you can do that. You can try fidgeting around with the two endpoints. Hold the Option button and press left, and that basically smudges it out 1 pixel. You're going to do it again, and that should be good. So now if we select the whole thing, it's still a little bit off. So let me try that, with these two on this side here. Hold Option and then out and out. All right. And now if I hit H, the bottom part is pretty good. Top part is a little bit off. No problem. Press N. Select that top node. If I don't hold Option and I press to the right, it jumps quite a few pixels. So if I hold Shift and press to the right, it jumps quite a lot more pixels. So I want to go pixel at a time, so I just hold Option and then right, right, right. And then I might do the same for this top part here, right, right, right. Okay, so let's check. There we go. Not much movement, just a little bit at the bottom, but that's pretty good. I don't want to spend too much more time on this one icon. If that bothers you and you really want to have it exactly symmetrical, I've figured out a little hack, or a little cheat, or a little trick, I should say. So what you're going to do is you're going to duplicate this one shape, so Command D, and now you're going to press H. So now you've got both shapes overlapping, exactly symmetrical. So now you select both of them, and now you can see down here it says 2 objects selected of type path. Make sure they're of type path or else this won't work. All you need to do now is combine them. So you're going to press Command Shift plus, and that adds the 2 paths together. So now if I press H, nothing changes. Okay, so that's the best way to get it super perfect really quickly. Okay, So we have the base shape, and you can see there's still no fill to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it, and now I can't see anything below. So we're going to choose the this tab here, which is the fill and stroke tab. If it's not open for you, you can find it here in the options. I'm not sure if I remember the shortcut. I think it's Shift Command F. Yes, okay, Shift Command F does bring up this little tab here. So what I want to do is with that diamond shape that I just created highlighted, I'm going to go to the opacity or opacity. Anyway, and we're going to bring it down just a bit. I usually bring it down enough that I can still see details below. So about a 45, 50, somewhere around there is good. Okay, so we have the base of the shape. There are two things you can do from now on. If you want to just have a simple token with no detail, you're ready to go. You just need this, and you're going to import it into Tinkercad. So for you, if you want to see that, I'm going to put the link so that you can skip ahead, or at least the time that you can skip ahead to that Tinkercad part. But if you want to add a little bit more detail to the 3D printed icon and token, just keep watching. So we're going to make each of these separate little sections. Now it might seem a little bit time consuming and difficult, but it's actually exactly the same as doing the main image. So the first thing is we press B for the Bezier curves, and we're going to again go to each corner. The only time I hold control is when I do the horizontal ones, because I know for sure those are straight. See here, it's not quite lined up, so I just let go of control there, and then I am going to try to line that up, but you can see it's not straight. So one little fix for that, you're going to click on N for nodes. You select the two nodes that you want to line up perfectly. Then you're going to click on the Align and Distribute tab. If your tab's not open, it is up here. So click on that. And then you're going to align nodes at the bottom. You can choose either the first selected, last selected, whatever you want. I usually go with the first. And then you're going to click on this so that they are aligned horizontally. And there we go. So that lines them up perfectly. Now that you have that selected, you will notice on the right side of the icon, there's something very similar. So let's do this. We're going to duplicate. We're going to flip it horizontally, and holding Shift, I'm going to press right, and you'll see that it's almost exactly where it wants to be. In this case, I don't know if I really want to change that because I really like the symmetry. But again, if you want it to be perfect, you can always take it, move it exactly where you want it to be. And then see here, we need to expand this a little bit. I recommend not using this to expand it because as you can see, it changes the angle of everything. So you're going to either double click or press N so that you're in node mode again. You can select both of these, hold Option and right. And one more for good luck. And there we go. So that is an exact duplicate of each side the way it's intended to look. You'll see that there is a little slash in the jewel. We're going to add those really quick. So just press on the item you want. I'm going to zoom in all the way and then out just a few times. I'm going to back to the Bezier curve. And what I want to do here is I want to click on the corner of the part that's going to be missing. I can bring it out wherever because it doesn't really matter because we're going to subtract it. So I click about there. Again, doesn't matter where. I can go all the way up here if I want. The only issue is I need to be far enough so that when I come down here, it's a nice straight line. So that looks pretty good. All right. Now I'm going to select that. And again, it says path. Very important that it says path. I select the shape just below it with holding Shift. And now, instead of Command Shift plus, I'm going to press Command Shift minus. And that subtracts anything that overlaps. So in this case now I have the outline of that left section. Another way you can do it is you can kind of modify this shape. So selecting the shape you want, you're going to press N for node mode. And now if you double click anywhere on the lines, it adds a node. So I've added one there. Oh, that is my alarm. Let me turn that off. That's my King of the North alarm. 3 minutes left. Yeah, no. Okay, so back to this. And I'm going to click over here, add another node. Now I can try to drag this out, but like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if I do, it's going to try to round it out, and that's kind of not what I'm looking for. So if I select both of those nodes, and then up here I click on the plus, it inserts a new node in the middle of everything that's selected. So there. Now, if I select just that middle node and I drag it in, now it's a nice straight line. So that's a second way that you can do this sort of detail. All right, so let's zoom out just a little bit. And now we're going to quickly add the middle section. And I'm going to zoom through this part of the video. So back here, that was very quick, very easy shape. We're going to do the exact same thing for these bottom 3 triangles. So click there, to about there, to right there. I'm going to bring this up to where the little notch starts. I'm going to bring it out, back in line, and then connect to the original. So that's even a third way you can do it. Normally, I don't like doing it this way, just because if you have an issue with realigning or resizing things, it's really hard to move nodes that are all over the place. Always try to do it so that your main image is as simple as possible. All right, so then we're going to go to there, control to the edge, and I'm going to do both ways in this middle one. So, oh, you can see that this top left corner didn't quite line up. So let's do that. Okay. Now I do want to get rid of this little notch down here. So I'm going to make another quick little triangle like that. I'm going to select that and the shape below it. Command Shift minus, and there we go. All right, last triangle. So B for Bezier curves. There, holding control to about there. We're going to go down to this corner. And boom, that's the shape. We're going to do another really quick select both and subtract. Done. Okay, so that is our first token that we have created. So what I'm going to do now is select everything that we just drew, bring it off to the side so you can see below, and let's now change the colors. So this the bottom one, I'm going to do it as black, okay? But because we have the opacity, again, not sure how to pronounce that, low, it's going to come up as gray. So let's bring that all the way back to 100. Now we've lost the lines we just drew. So let's select everything just short of the big shape. And you can see I have 6 other items selected. It says so down here. For those, I'm going to change the outline to white, and now we can see them. It doesn't matter what color you use when you're creating the tokens. It all matters is what color you use as filament when you're printing them. So in this case, I see these, this setup is perfect. So what I want to do now is I need to export this as an SVG file so that I can import it into Tinkercad. So if I select what I want to export, do Command Shift E to export, you can see here a preview. It's default exporting as a PNG. So we're going to change that to plain SVG. And now here, I want to put it on my desktop, and then I'm going to do the game tokens. And then here we're doing the gem. I'm not sure exactly what they're called in the game, but for now it's just a gem. So once you've got that exported, let's take a look. We have the gem file here. If I preview it, you can see that it's a massive file, but just in the top corner is the gem that I want, which looks good so far. Okay, so now we're going to go to Tinkercad. So we're going to go to 3D printing, Tinkercad. All right, and here we go. So once you've got Tinkercad loaded, you'll notice the name that comes up here is always such a random garbled gibberish of letters and weird words. So we're going to call this Dwellings of Eldervale tokens. Okay, so now we're going to import, choose a file. Here we choose how big we want it to be. So because we did it exactly on top of the graphic from the rulebook, it should be a decent size. So let's just go ahead and import it. And there we go. We see that we've imported the jewel. The only problem is everything that we traced has been cut out. That's because when we import the SVG file, we're importing the path. And right now the path is the outside, and then we have 6 internal paths. So it kind of by default breaks everything apart. So unfortunately we can't ungroup it because it's an import, so it thinks that's exactly what we want. And hey, some of you might want to print that out and, you know, go for it. It's not what I'm looking for. So in order to fix that, we got to go back into Inkscape and do a little change. So back in Inkscape, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything that's not the base, and instead of white, I'm going to make the outline red, just so I can see it when I drag it off of the base. Okay, so now we have all 6 pieces up here, and we have the base here. So if I do the base again, and now here I'm going to change the name to gem base. Let me make sure I'm in the right folder. Of course not. Gem base. Here we go. Now I get to select all of these, and we're in the right spot, and we're going to say gem details is what I like to call them, so that I can differentiate the two. So you'll see here we have the gem base, and then we have the gem details. All right, probably guessed what the next step is. We're going to go back into Tinkercad. We're going to import. Now, unfortunately, I haven't had much success importing more than one file. So let's import the base first. And now it's going to import it directly centered. So there we go. And I want to import the details. So let's get those. And again, not changing any of the numbers keeps everything by default. And by default, it imports it at 10 millimeters high and whatever size you created it. So let's select both of these, press F to zoom in on them, and now we're getting close to what I want to create. So what I want to do is I want to have a tiny little indent that is of this pattern. So what you need to do is you need to bring it down as small as you can get it. So I'd say about 1 millimeter, and I want to line it up with this. So I'm going to select both, press L for the alignment, and now I select the one I want to align it to. So now that I have the base selected, we're going to center it on the x-axis. We're going to center it on the y-axis. It's gone, but really it's underneath. So I want to bring it to the top layer. So that's where I click here on the z-axis. Now it's centered on the top. But as you can see, it's slightly off. So I'm going to see if I can... Too much. Okay. So we need to change the snap grid amount. I'm going to turn it off. So here, I can now move it exactly where I want. So let's go about there. So that looks pretty centered. Okay. Now, if we select the details and we select the base together, and if we group them, the details disappear because the paths are fully overlapping. What we want to do is turn the details into a whole. So if we click on whole, now when we group them, it's going to chip away or carve out the details. So now we have kind of a textured token, and I think that looks incredible. So you have to repeat this to both sides, which is kind of a pain, but super easy to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ungroup them. I'm going to take the details, duplicate it, select the details and the base, group them, so it takes away that. And now the base I need to flip. So I'm going to click here, and this allows me to rotate it however many degrees I want. But if you bring your mouse down to this area here, it snaps to a certain degree. So we're going to do it 180 degrees so that it flips it fully. All right. Now we double check that it's still sitting on the base, and you can see that part that's been cut out. We see here the second details that we created, and now if I group them, beautiful. Now we've got a token that has details on both sides. All right. Now you can send this or export it. So let's export this as an STL file. And for here, I'm going to say we're going to name this tokens final gem. Okay. And now, once you have your final gem file downloaded, you can preview it and see all of the glory on both sides. All right, just like that. Looks pretty awesome. We can then take this, import it into our 3D printing software, and print out a whole bunch of them. All right, so I hope you learned how to create your own custom game tokens with this video. Please add a comment, like this video, subscribe to our channel. There'll be a lot more videos coming your way on how to create your own game tokens, game upgrades, print and play, ways of doing things. Lots and lots of fun things coming your way. So thanks for watching, and have a lovely day.